First puzzle, threats in puzzle position are. There are no threats in this position. There are no checks in this position. The best move in puzzle position is e4. Rook takes pawn, check. King to f5. Rook to f7, check. King to g4. Rook to f2. e3. Let's see the next puzzle. The threats are pawn takes pawn. Bishop takes bishop. Bishop takes rook. Queen takes rook, check. Here are the checks. Queen takes rook, check. Solution to the puzzle is queen takes rook, check. Queen takes queen. Bishop takes queen. Bishop takes bishop. Rook to f1. Let us go to the next puzzle. Puzzle position vulnerabilities are queen takes queen. Pawn takes pawn. Bishop takes pawn, check. Bishop takes pawn. Checks in puzzle position are bishop takes pawn, check. Solution to the puzzle is bishop takes pawn, check. King to h1. Queen takes queen. Another one. Here are the threats. Bishop takes knight. Queen takes pawn. Queen takes pawn, check. Queen takes pawn, check. Knight takes pawn. Knight takes bishop, check. Knight takes pawn. Here are the checks. Queen to h5, check. Queen takes pawn, check. Queen to g4, check. Queen takes pawn, check. Knight to f4, check. Knight takes bishop, check. The answer is knight takes bishop, check. Rook takes knight. Bishop takes knight. Another puzzle. Here are the threats. Queen takes pawn. Here are checks in puzzle position. Queen to f1, check. Rook to e1, check. The best move in puzzle position is queen to e2. Let's continue. Threats in puzzle position are rook takes rook. Knight takes pawn. Queen takes rook. Queen takes pawn, check. Queen takes bishop. The checks are queen takes pawn, check. Queen to g2, check. Queen to f1, check. Queen to f3, check. Here is the solution to the puzzle. Queen to f1, check. Rook to g1. Queen takes rook, checkmate. Another puzzle. Puzzle position vulnerabilities are knight takes pawn. Knight takes knight. There are no checks in this position. The best move in puzzle position is knight to f4. Queen to g3. Knight takes bishop. Let's see the next puzzle. Here are threats in puzzle position. There are no threats in this position. Let us look at checks in puzzle position. d4, check. The best move in puzzle position is d4, check. King to d3. King to d5. b4. Pawn takes pawn. a5. King takes pawn. a6. King to b6. Another puzzle. Here are threats in puzzle position. There are no threats in this position. There are no checks in this position. Answer to this puzzle is knight to f4. Bishop to e4. Knight takes pawn. g5. Pawn takes pawn. Let's continue. Threats in puzzle position are rook takes rook. Rook takes pawn. Here are checks in puzzle position. Rook to g3, check. Rook to f2, check. Here is the solution to the puzzle. Rook takes rook. Rook takes rook. Rook to g7. One more. Let us look at threats in puzzle position. Queen takes pawn. Checks in puzzle position are queen to d3, check. Queen to a6, check. The puzzle is solved using queen to d3, check. King to e1. Queen takes knight, check. Another one. Here are threats in puzzle position. Rook takes pawn. Queen takes rook, check. The checks are queen takes rook, check. Here is the solution to the puzzle. Queen takes rook, check. Bishop to g8. Queen takes pawn, checkmate. Another one. The threats are rook takes bishop. Let us look at checks in puzzle position. Rook to e4, check. Here is the solution to the puzzle. Rook takes bishop. King takes rook. Pawn takes pawn. Let's continue. Threats in this position are queen takes knight. Queen takes queen, check. Here are the checks. Knight to c5, check. Queen to b5, check. Queen takes queen, check. Answer to this puzzle is queen to b5, check. King to c8. Queen to c6, check. Knight to c7. Queen takes knight, checkmate. Let's continue. Threats in puzzle position are. There are no threats in this position. Here are checks in puzzle position. Rook to e6, check. The puzzle is solved using rook to e6, check. King to f4. Rook to f6, check. King to e4. Rook takes rook. Next puzzle, here are the threats. Rook takes rook, check. Queen takes pawn. The checks are rook takes rook, check. Rook to d8, check. Queen to e4, check. Queen to d5, check. Queen to f1, check. Queen to e2, check. Queen to d2, check. Queen to c2, check. Here is the solution to the puzzle. Rook to d8, check. Knight to d7. Rook takes knight, check. King to c3. Queen to d2, checkmate. Let's continue. Puzzle position vulnerabilities are. Queen takes bishop, check. Pawn takes pawn. Here are checks in puzzle position. Queen to e6, check. Queen to d7, check. Queen takes bishop, check. Queen to f4, check. Queen to e5, check. Queen to d5, check. Queen to c5, check. Knight to c4, check. Solution to the puzzle is knight to c4, check. King to c6. Queen to e6, check. Queen to d6. Knight takes queen. Another puzzle. Threats in this position are. Queen takes pawn. There are no checks in this position. The answer is queen to d5. f3. Queen to c5, check. Rook to f2. Queen takes bishop. Let us go to the next puzzle. Here are threats in puzzle position. Queen takes pawn, check. Bishop takes pawn. Rook takes pawn. Here are the checks. Queen takes pawn, check. Solution to the puzzle is rook to c6. Queen to d7. Rook takes bishop. Rook to e6. Rook takes rook. Another puzzle. The threats are knight takes bishop. Queen takes bishop. There are no checks in this position. The best move in puzzle position is knight takes bishop. Knight takes knight. Queen takes knight. Let's see the next puzzle. Puzzle position vulnerabilities are. Knight takes pawn. Here are the checks. Knight to d5, check. Knight to e2, check. g3, check. Answer to this puzzle is knight to d5, check. King to g3. Knight takes knight. Another one. The threats are bishop takes pawn. There are no checks in this position. The best move in puzzle position is bishop takes pawn. Rook to b1. Rook takes rook. Let's continue. Here are threats in puzzle position. There are no threats in this position. There are no checks in this position. Here is the solution to the puzzle. g4. Bishop to g6. c7. Let us go to the next puzzle. Puzzle position vulnerabilities are. Knight takes bishop. Knight takes pawn. Bishop takes pawn. Here are the checks. Knight to e7, check. Knight to f6, check. Answer to this puzzle is knight to e7, check. King to f8. Knight takes rook. Another puzzle. The threats are. There are no threats in this position. Let us look at checks in puzzle position. Knight to c8, check. Knight to b5, check. The best move in puzzle position is knight to c8, check. King to d7. Knight takes bishop, check. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.